Good evening, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. It is Tuesday, September the 20th, 2022, and the time is 9:11 p.m. I hope you have had a wonderful day today and that so far your week is going very well. Earlier today, I did a small report or a short report about King Charles being summoned before the tribunal or international tribunal court. So most people understood and overstood that natural law and common law allows for the establishment of popular courts of justice in the event that your established system subverts the law. Okay, but there were some people that did not understand that. So they questioned me and asked me, how is it that this international law or tribunal court can question the king, can question this authority that's over in Britain and summons him before the court? And I truly understand why that is a question, because many of us are used to being told what to do by other governance or governing bodies that has nothing to do with we the people. Now, again, anytime an established system subverts or undermines the law, that we the people may establish our own court system, because we are sovereign, because we have the power to govern ourselves and determine how people ought to behave in our society and in our reality. Natural and common law, again, allows for that to happen. So the International Common Law Court founded the tribunal court system actually September the 15th in 2012, and that was established in Brussels. Well, when this international tribunal court was established, actually people had to come before it because you have two systems operating at the same time. There was a system that was established by common law, and then there was a system that was established by British law and established by the bar or the British accreditation registry. Now, I'm going to get into that a little bit, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a real system. There is a real international court that established a tribunal court system by we the people. It's a popular system, okay? It's not the one that we're accustomed to or used to that's established by the Queen. Remember, I told you when Nassau is announced, all republics all across the globe will then come back online. Nassau is actually occurring right before our eyes, and we may not see that. We may not know what's going on, but I'm telling you that republics all across the globe are being established, and they are operating as such. When the official announcement of the Queen's death occurred, that's what happened. Automatically, your republics were restored. Automatically, you were to understand and understand that you are sovereign and to behave as such. Now, remember, most of our lawyers or attorneys, actually, they're not lawyers really because they don't practice law. Most of them, they don't practice common law or constitutional law or natural law. Most of them, the lawyers, are attorneys. Attorneys had to pass the bar after they attended law school. The bar is the British Accreditation Registry. The bar, once you pass it, names you as an esquire. Esquire, that's why attorneys have ESQ behind their names. Esquire is a title of nobility. That means you are considered a British noble, that you are royal, and that you are above the people. You're better than the people. You make laws for the people. You speak for the people. You administer their trusts. If you don't know that to be the case, then just look up bar. Just look up what it means and you will see. Let me read it for you. Bar. The bar was English English's own British Accreditation Registry. Its members were considered to be nobles. I'm looking this up online. Being above the common persons, and all lawyers or attorneys had to belong to it. And they were under the will of the king and the Bank of England. They are under the will of the king and the Bank of England. This is what the bar is. So remember when I told you all in a video that I conducted not long ago that most of our congressmen and congresswomen actually are attorneys. They have Esquire behind their names, which means that they had to pass the bar, the British Accreditation Registry, which means that they are nobles and are above we common people. It means that they have a title of nobility. Now, according to our lawful constitution, you may not have a title of nobility and create laws. Why is that, Dr. Pruitt? The reason why you may not have a title of nobility and create laws is because you are a noblewoman or a nobleman. You are considered royal. You work for the British throne, for the British queen, the British king and their authority. How is it that you're going to make laws for we the people when you are noble and you feel you are above the people, you're above common people, and you work for a whole nother entity? Now, this is not to undermine people who have Esquire behind their names, people who are attorneys, because most of you don't even know that this title meant that you didn't work for we the people. More than that, not only did you not work for us, you worked for the king and the queen of Britain and for their banks. So the congressmen and congresswomen that were making laws for we the people have to come down. They must step down. And this is why according to Nasara, all lawyers or attorneys have to cease and desist or be retrained in constitutional law. You will have that option. And that is the beauty of grace, right? Because we didn't know, many people did not know what was going on, that meant we were beholden to the British accredited registry, that we were working, if you had a law degree, not we, but if you have a law degree, that you were working for the king and queen. So grace is being extended upon you, because now you will have the opportunity to either stop working as an attorney or be retrained in constitutional law. And that is a beautiful thing. So again, all those Congress people, though, that have Esquire behind their name, and I think I looked this up before, and according to my recollection, 175 congressmen and women actually have a title of nobility behind their names. So here we go. Let's read this letter. Again, King Charles is being summoned to come before the International Tribunal Court, established by we the people. It is a popular court. Yes, it does have weight. Yes, it does have authority, because now we're operating on common law, natural law, and according to constitutions all over the planet. Now, I said it was running concurrently with the nefarious system, but that system has been taken down. And you all know that President Trump went over there to meet the Queen years ago and actually took authority away from her, or took back our power. So here's the legal notice. Issued to Charles Windsor, aka the King of England, by the International Common Law Court of Justice, Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. This is when it's published. In accordance with the international law and the verdict of this court of January 15, 2022, you, Charles Windsor, are hereby ordered to appear before a special tribunal of the court that has been convened to investigate the following criminal matters in which you are implicated by reason of your office, family association, and possible personal complicity. The abduction and permanent disappearance of indigenous children while in the company of your parents, Elizabeth and Philip Windsor, on October 10th, 1964, at the Camp Looms Indian Residential School in British Columbia, Canada. 2. The arrest and death by arsenic poisoning of the sole living eyewitness to his abduction, William Coombs, at St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver, Canada, on February the 26th, 2011, just prior to his public testimony occurring concerning his abduction. The ongoing theft, rape, sterilization, torture, and ritual killing and genocide of over 60,000 Indigenous children in Canadian Indian residential schools and hospitals established by the British Crown with the authorization of your mother, Elizabeth Windsor, as head of the Crown of the Church of England. Number 4, the participants of your parents, Elizabeth and Philip Windsor, and other members of the British royal family in the murderous Ninth Circle child sacrificial cult established and operated by the Roman Catholic Church. 5. The criminal conspiracy established between your mother, Elizabeth Windsor, and Joseph Ratzinger, aka Pope Benedict, at Hollywood Castle in Edinburgh on September the 16th, 2010, to coordinate and conceal the aforenamed genocide and Ninth Circuit cult activities, and to amalgamate the Church of England and the Church of Rome in violation of Elizabeth's coronation oath and the laws of England. 6, the 6th point of this decree. The personal authorization by your mother, Elizabeth Windsor, the use of angelical children in unlawful and lethal drug testing experiments conducted by GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, and other pharmaceutical companies with which the British Crown is financially associated. The 7th point, the unlawful maintenance of the Crown of England and the British monarchy against the will of the people, the law of God, and the law passed in the British Parliament on March the 17th, 1649, that established and outlawed forever that monarchy and made its reinstitution an act of treason and idolatry. And you all know that the penalty of treason is death. Let it be known that the aforenamed special tribunal of this court will commence its public investigation of these matters on Tuesday, November the 1st, 2022, at a place to be announced. You are obligated by common law to appear before this tribunal to give testimony and be examined. If you fail to do so, a summons and arrest order will be issued against you. This notice has universal jurisdiction and carries the full force and effect of the law. It is issued on the public record on the 20th day of September in the year of 2022. Family, I got chills just reading this. This lets you know how powerful we are, how mighty we are, how sovereign we are. Not only are we able to command something to happen, but we are able to enforce it because we have power. This is why you need to know and understand and overstand common law. You need to know that you have control over yourselves. And as such, we the people can, need to, and must come together to establish our own system and bring people to our system and make them accountable for what they have done. Now, the reason that King Charles is being summoned before this tribunal court is because his parents, Queen Elizabeth and King Philip, allegedly, and actually they have witnesses that know that they have murdered Indigenous children in Canadian, not public, but private schools. So I told you all today and in my brief report that it is customary actually for these people who are reptilian, draconian, and otherwise from other realms that have usurped authority over our governments to mutilate, abuse, traumatize, and eat children. It is also or was customary for them to drink their blood. Now, this may be something that seems outlandish to a lot of people, but on this channel, most of you know that this is a real issue. Now, the good news is that now that this official announcement that the Queen has died has been made as of September the 8th, you will see so many things happen, and they will happen quickly. You will see a demolish of all nefarious governments. You will see a financial system that had been in place collapsing, a complete, total collapse of the nefarious Federal Reserve banking system and the British throne ruling over it, along with Pope Benedict and all the other popes. All their power is being demolished right before your eyes. You can see it. You can feel it. I'm reporting it to you. So when that gentleman told me today that I was lying, that this court has no power and authority, my first inclination was just to say, okay. But then I asked him, what makes you think that the system that was running before us by the British accredited registry has any authority over we the people versus a system that we have established? What makes you think they have more authority than we the people? And I waited. He could not answer the question because we are so conditioned and so programmed to think and feel and believe that we have no power. But what word is in that word believe? Lie, Believe. It's a lie. You don't have to believe. You need to know. You need to understand. You need to overstand that you have power, in any system that we put in place has authority. Again, because according to natural law and common law, anytime your existing system subverts the law, you have the authority to establish a popular court system or a court system by we the people. So again, Queen Elizabeth and her husband had mutilated many children. Why did they choose indigenous children? So all over the world, children from many nationalities and ethnicities were being raped, abused, mutilated, traumatized, eaten, and their organs were harvested so that these beings can continue to live. However, when you understand and understand melanin and you understand and understand Aboriginal peoples or the original people of a region have certain blood types and have a certain amount of melanin in their organs that sustained these beings. So while they ate other children, their preference were children that were heavily melanated. And this is why you saw things happening in Louisiana, because you have melanated beings there, and Aboriginal people or AB original people or indigenous people. And they're indigenous people all over the planet, but you saw them particularly with heavily melanated people. You will see hurricanes and so-called natural disasters so that these beings can harvest the organs of those people eat them, ingest them, and also utilize them for themselves so they can live longer. You also saw these type of natural disasters occurring in Haiti. So some people will say that happened because Haiti was one of the only, if not the only countries that was able to actually have victory over colonizers. Now, while that is true, also keep in mind that the Haitians are heavily melanated. So when you saw all those natural disasters occurring over there, what happened, and they talked about it later on, the people from that country or that island said that a lot of bodies went missing, and that is because their organs were harvested, their blood was drank, and their was drunk and their flesh was eaten. So these nefarious beings that are not human actually prefer indigenous or aboriginal people all over the planet. This is now something that is actually widely known. So this doesn't mean that it didn't occur with all children. I'm just saying that they specifically identified those children. And this is what King Philip and his wife, his kissing cousin wife, Queen Elizabeth, did. So Queen Elizabeth and King Philip were actually themselves summons before a tribunal court for killing these children, eating these children, and doing all type of rituals on these children, occultic rituals. So that's how you also know about what's going on in Hollywood. They had occultic rituals too, where they did the same thing because they were all a part of the same club. So Queen Elizabeth and her husband, King Philip, were called to the tribunal courts for the missing of those children. However, there was only one survivor who gave testimony to people off the record about what happened to these children and his ritualistic abuse and eating and mutilation of children. His name was William Coombs. William Coombs, the only surviving person, was supposed to testify before this tribunal court, but he himself was murdered. Now, when he was murdered, then they didn't have any witnesses or eyewitnesses to testify. Well, now that the Queen of England has perished, this tribunal court has called their son, King Philip's and Queen Elizabeth's son, who is King Charles, to come before the court. And again, I'll read this last part. It says, you are obligated by common law to appear before this tribunal and to give testimony and be examined. If you fail to do so, a summons and arrest will be issued against you. This is a universal jurisdiction and it carries the full force and effect of the law. If King Charles does not do this and appear, he will be arrested. Can you see what's really going on? This is an orchestrated demolition of the nefarious governance or government that had controlled the world. They killed the queen. They killed many of the people or arrested them through military tribunals. When I say they, I mean the white hats of the military and the Galactic Federation of Light, or the Galactic Federation of Worlds, or just people or beings from other realms that have come here to help us to liberate the planet. This is real, family. We are truly experiencing the liberation of humanity. I cannot stress this enough. I desire for you to continue to raise your vibrations so that you can feel this energy and know, not believe, but know for yourself that this is occurring. So the king is being taken down, and so are many other governments. Remember, I told you that during Queen Elizabeth's funeral, you had governments or presidents or governmental representatives from all over the world to attend this funeral. They were given notice at the funeral that their time of reigning has come to an end. They were notified that there will be a complete and total imminent collapse of the New World Order system that had been put in place by not only the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, but by the Queen, the Pope, and those people that were behind them, which is the Black Pope. That's something that people don't talk about. The Black Pope has nothing to do with color. It doesn't mean he was a melanated being. It doesn't mean he is African or has a black ethnicity or bloodline. The Black Pope is just a dark entity. That's what they called it, that was behind these governmental bodies. So again, at the Queen's funeral, presidents and governmental agents and representatives from all over the world were notified that their time of reigning has ended. This, again, as I said, is reminiscent of what happened at Daddy Bush's funeral, Daddy Bush being George Bush Sr. If you recall, and I put it on my video, I put it in the description section of my last video that I did earlier today. Family, as an aside, please read the articles that I give you in the description section, because it will save you from wondering and trying to figure out if I'm telling the truth or not. As a woman with a doctoral degree or a PhD, I was trained to not only research thoroughly, but to provide evidence, at least 3 sources. They call it triangulation, 3 sources, and also not just 3 sources that you're supposed to provide, but sources that have been vetted by at least 3 people and in 3 different types of sources. So please read the articles that I provide for you in the description section. It will save you up on time. I research a lot. I spend a lot of my time early morning, late at night. It's something that I love to do, and it's something that I'm passionate about. So please do me a favor and read those articles or look at those videos so that you can be brought up to speed. So Daddy Bush had a funeral, as you all know, and all of the presidents and former presidents like Clinton, Obama, who else was there? Even President Trump was there, and some of the other world leaders were there. And leaders from all over the country were at Daddy Bush's funeral. If you look at the video that I supplied on earlier today, and I will provide it for you in the description section again today, all of those leaders were given a secret classified envelope. Now, the first ladies, most of the first ladies got the envelope actually, and some of the presidents. When they opened the envelopes, you could see the shock and utter dismay on their faces because of what was in the envelopes. Now, we who were in relationship or had some people in high places or people in the military, or as I told you, some of us actually have relationships with celebrities or their children, and some of them may have had some of the information. But those of us who followed along with the intel that the military provided knew that there was something very important in those messages. What was in those messages was that Donald Trump and the white hats of the military knew about the crimes against humanity that those presidents had been involved in, and those people in high places, or the so-called elite, had been involved in, and that they were being summoned before a tribunal or a military tribunal or military court. They would be summoned so that they can be judged. And in that judgment, as you all know, they would either be hung or taken out or executed by firing squad or some other means, as well as Executive Order 13818 would come into place, and that is that all of their assets would be frozen. All of the assets, again, of those who participated in crimes against humanity, and that being human trafficking, child sex trafficking, drug trafficking, and the like, their assets would be held in our possession, or in the white hats of the military possession, and they will be frozen. Who are the white hats of the military? I'm glad you asked. The white hats of the military are the benevolent or the good factions of the military that made an agreement long ago to participate in taking down the deep state cabal New World Order powers. So the deep state cabal New World Order people are actually human hybrids. Human hybrids are those Nephilim or those with those bad angels or whatever you want to call them, or rulers of darkness that came into our realm and made it with humans. So those non-human beings came into our realm, made it with the humans, and made children. So you had some of those actual beings and or their children to sit in government and infiltrate every segment of our society for many, many, many decades, hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years, to control us and harvest our energy. Now, they were actually draconians like Dracula. So they actually, yes, ate the flesh, drank the blood of human beings. And they put into society programs that will cause us to be angry, fearful, hurt, and upset. Programs such as racism, sexism, classism, programs that cause division against or between people who had different political parties or different religious beliefs. They even put in systems of religion to cause us to have fear, because when you're angry, hurt, and fearful, then you emit an energy from your body that's called loosh, Loosh. It is an energetic field that is around you from the energy that comes out of your body when you're angry or upset or hurt or fearful. And they literally eat or absorb that energy, because some of them are not human or they're human hybrid. So they actually eat energy. As an aside, as we ascend to higher dimensions, we will not need food. And that's why some of you, or many of you, are not hungry a lot, or you're finding that you're eating less and less food. Because as we ascend, we will stop eating certain foods until we come to the point where we have crystalline bodies and not need food. And we ourselves will absorb or eat energy. We also will not use money, because we'll be able to manifest like our galactic brothers and sisters. So in the interim, we are moving away from fiat paper dollars to gold and silver, as well as we will experience an amazing, abundant reality, because the Creator desires for us to know what that truly feels like before we ascend to higher dimensions, where we won't need any of that. We'll be able to just manifest or create whatever we desire without money. Now, did you know that a lot of wealthy people do not carry fiat dollars? They won't even touch it, because they know that the beings that were in power cast spells upon those fiat dollars. So when we withhold them, a lot of us actually cast spells upon ourselves just having that in our physical possession. But now, as we ascend, some of us are already in the fourth and fifth dimension, as we have ascended or are ascending to those dimensions, we're going to use metals, precious metals. They call them precious. My grandmother nicknamed me Precious. So, when you're growing up and you have ancestors or old elders in your family, they nicknamed the children. So mine was Precious. Precious meaning that I'm special, that I'm beloved. So we will have precious metals and we will use them. Silver is wonderful because it heals your body, as does copper. And you all may know that some, not necessarily doctors, but some healers will encourage you to wear copper on your body, specifically if you have joint pain, because copper heals you. It heals your joints, it heals your muscles. Silver also heals you and raises your vibrations and controls your emotions, and it helps you to release endorphins. So whenever my mood is low, I will put silver on my body, whether it's on my forehead or just on my chest or somewhere on my body, in order to raise my vibrations. And it actually works and brings up your emotions. Gold does the same thing. This is one of the true reasons why the people in power took away precious metals from us. Because not only was it used as money, but they are healing agents. Silver also is something that is powerful because it gets rid of or eliminates viruses upon contact. So many people during the pandemic were taking colloidal silver in order to not get sick, or if they were sick, to get rid of the virus. So you can take silver as a colloidal, you can take gold as a colloidal or as a monoatomic. Now, many of you remember Dr. Delbert Blair, who was a metaphysician. He told us a while ago before he died, I think he died in 2012. He had been talking in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, about how we were ascending to higher dimensions, how he had been visited by benevolent or good beings from other realms, and how they had told them that we needed to consume monoatomics because monoatomics truly heal you, raises your emotions and your vibrations, and also gives you or increases your psychic powers. This, my darlings, is the real reason they took away our silver and gold. Now, if you are familiar with the Sumerian texts and some of the texts that predate the Bible, you know that according to the stories, the Anunnaki seeded humans, the modern humans or the current humans on the planet, or they made it with the old beings that were here or human beings and created us so that we could mine gold for them because they needed gold for planet Nibiru, which is their planet, to heal the atmosphere. This is how precious gold is. Now, I would encourage you to read more about the Anunnaki because you'll learn about Enki and Enlil, who were brothers that helped to create us. But what a lot of you do not hear about is Ninsurhag. Ninsurhag is actually the female or mastermind behind creating modern humans. She used her genetics, just like her brothers, to create us human beings. And as such, once we were created in this realm, we were supposed to be allowed to ascend to our higher selves as being part, I don't want to call us part alien, but part of those gods that create us, or part of those beings. When I say gods, I just mean creators. We are part of who they are. So we were supposed to be able to ascend to our higher selves. We were left here when Enki and Enlil's father, Anu, found out that they had created human beings without the consent of the Federation. So you have a Galactic Federation of Worlds. You actually have a federation of or membership of council of beings from many, many different realms, many, many different universes or celestial bodies that come together and meet. Well, Enki and Enlil created, and Ninsurhag created human beings here without permission of the council. So it was determined that we should be annihilated or get rid of us. And so that is where you get the deluge or the flood. The flood is not Noah's flood. Remember, Noah's Ark is not only written in the Bible, but it is written in text that predates the Bible, like your Sumerian text. They called it the deluge. So the deluge was supposed to wipe us out because they didn't get permission to create us. Well, one of the brothers who loved us so much decided to save us. And that is where you get Noah's Ark, the story of Noah's Ark, to save some of us, to as many as he could, to bring us in an ark and to bring as many animals as he could. Now, whether or not that story is completely literal or metaphorical is up to your discernment. But this is just the story that I'm telling you. Now, once the remnant of us were saved, what happened was it was determined to allow us to go ahead and ascend and to leave us alone, and because we would figure it out. And that's why we created the Tower of Babel, because we were trying to reach these higher realms, and we at the time spoke one language. But then one of the brothers so you had one of the brothers who really, really loved us. They both loved us. But then you had another brother, according to the story, it's up to your discretion whether or not that this is true. One of the brothers decided that he wanted to be in control. They say he was a control freak. I think they called that one Enlil. You all can correct me in the comments section if I'm incorrect. But this person or this being created religion in order to control us and to create fear. so that we can serve him. And so Enlil, if this is the right brother, actually is who Yahweh is in the Bible. It's so this is why Yahweh, or the God of the Bible, talks about fearing him, doing whatever he says, or else he'll kill you and annihilate you, because he was actually one of the beings that are from another realm. Now, I'm not telling you not to worship or serve God. I'm telling you there is, according to the text, a difference between the gods that seated beings on this earth and the overall creative force or energy, the one that created all beings. That there's an energy or a source or a consciousness that even created these creator gods of different realms and dimensions that created humans and the beings on those planets. So the story goes that Enlil actually created religion, and I'm hoping I got the right one. So there was Enki and Enlil created religion to control the human beings, as well as when we built the Tower of Babel, because we were trying to reach or ascend higher heights. We had so much knowledge and information because we are gods. We have the same DNA of the beings who created us, and we all come from the creative consciousness that created all things. So we were trying to reach those higher realms, but Enlil, if I have the correct brother right, caused us to be confounded and confused, and the tower fell down, according to my recollection. And then he instituted different languages so that we would not be able to communicate with each other and no longer have the ability or desire to commune in one language and build another tower to reach those higher realms. But, excuse me, the human spirit is very strong and persistent. We still had that knowledge that was already in our DNA, as well as we had a relationship with Enki, Enlil, and Nimsarhag, their sister. We had a relationship with them, so they taught us how to create pyramids. They taught us how to create wonderful, magnificent societies. So we were no longer seen as just slaves that mine gold. We were seen and realized our potential as mighty, powerful gods ourselves. When Enki, Enlil, and Nimsarhag went back to their planet of Nibiru, we were left here to figure things out and to go ahead and continue to raise our frequencies and to grow and ascend to higher realms and higher states of consciousness. We were doing a wonderful job, but having been left here alone made us vulnerable to other beings and other galaxies and other realms. So when those beings, some people call them draconians, reptilians, which I don't want to say reptilians are bad, because we all have reptilian brains, which means that we too are reptilian in some way. But you had these beings from other realms that came down. Remember the scripture that says the Nephilim, or the sons of God, came down and made it with the daughters of men. So the beings from other realms came down or came through this realm and made it with human females and created their own race of beings. I'm using race for a lack of a better term. When that happened, we were not only vulnerable to being mated with, but we were vulnerable to being enslaved. So a lot of these entities came into our reality and created programs like racism, sexism, religions, and different other things to cause us to be confused and to cause us to emit the loosh and the energy that upon which they would feed, so that they themselves can grow. And as long as they can feed off our energy and grow and get stronger and stronger and bigger and mightier, they can have rule and dominion over earth. But remember, we were supposed to have dominion of the earth, meaning that we were supposed to fully enjoy the earth and fully mine it and have gardens enjoy the bountifulness of the planet. This is something that was for us. It was a gift to us from those who created us, or that God, or those gods, however your system tells you, or the creator that created us had really planned for us to enjoy this. So, I mean, you had the one segment of them, a part of them that wanted us to be slaves in order to mine gold, but the overall concept. And so Enki, Enlil wanted to control us. Enki desired for us to ascend to higher states of consciousness and to enjoy the planet that was here for us. When those nefarious I call them nefarious, but I don't know if it's right to call them nefarious or evil when it's just who they are or what they are. When they came on the planet, again, they put in programs and institutions like religion and government, or nefarious governments, in order to make us slaves. So they enslaved the entire planet. Now, I know there are certain groups of people that have been told that they're the only ones that have been enslaved, but in truth, we all have been enslaved. Our whole family has been enslaved to these beings. Now, what we see is that those who created us and those beings that are part of the council that desire to see us ascend to higher states of consciousness have come back to help us. That includes Nimsarhag, or the female who was the sister of Enki and Enlil. She has also returned, and she is actually putting in or ushering in energies that we call the divine feminine. So she desires to have these energies of the divine feminine because Mama, that's what you remember, Big Mama, Mama, or the matriarch, or the one who created you, is the one, or the female, because the male and the female do create you. But you know, the feminine energy is nurturing, the feminine energy is loving, the feminine energy is peaceful and intuitive. So whereas the masculine is very, very important because it exerts energy. The masculine energy it's rational, it fights for and supports the divine feminine. So now we see the divine feminine energy flooding the planet, saying, no longer will you rape children, no longer will you abuse children, no longer will you traffic women, no longer will we allow prostitution, pornography, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, because the female psyche does not allow or permit or enjoy a woman or a child being used as sexual children or sexual toys. Now, the divine masculine also does not allow that or like that or enjoy that. Divine masculine actually supports or does the grunt work of Mama, or the divine feminine. So what we saw put in place was not the divine masculine. We saw something that they called patriarchy, or they called masculine, that was actually not at all. It was nefarious, energetic beings controlling the planet, telling us that this was patriarchal or masculine. But masculinity supports, takes care of, nurtures, and actually does the work for what Mama, does the work that Mama says he is to do. So many of you may not know, but kings were actually established, chosen, taught, and trained by women, the divine feminine. Now, so you all know I believe in the universal laws, and universal laws are laws that rule and govern the entire universe. Universal laws cannot be changed. They are immutable. They just are. One of the universal laws is the law of gender. That law states that you must have the divine masculine and the divine feminine in order to have harmony and balance. They are to work together synergistically, because when they work together in harmony, it brings peace and you feel restored, rejuvenated, and like you're at one or at one with the universe and the creator of all things. So again, the divine feminine has come back and has come back online and is now infiltrating every segment of our reality, and the divine masculine is supporting us. So we're going to return back to a time where you have a matriarchal system. And a matriarchal system just means a system or a society that is loving, nurturing, kind, peaceful, and harmonious. It is the same system of Ma'at. Ma'at is an entity, and I don't want to get into that too much, but according to some systems or Egyptian systems, or I should say ancient systems, when you have a physical death, when your body retires or resigns or you transition and you go to a higher realm or your spirit ascends to a different realm, it is to be judged on the scales of Ma'at. So you have your heart on one end of the scale and you have a feather on the other end of the scale. Your heart, your values, your principles, and all the things that you have done on earth in your reality are weighed against a feather. In order for you to ascend into higher dimensions and higher realms and higher states of consciousness where you become one with the Creator, your heart must be as light as the feather on Ma'at's scales. So Ma'at is about truth, freedom, love, justice, peace, and harmony. That is what the matriarchal system is about. It's not about feminism. It's not about women against men. It is just a system of love, peace, joy, harmony, and the like, and justice. Again, the divine masculine is part of the matriarchy or part of the divine feminine, and it supports the divine feminine. Okay. In layman's terms, we say that the masculine actually does the work for, or the grunt work for, the divine feminine, because it protects her energy so that she can do what she was created to do. So that's just a long explanation of what we are to expect. The queen's death was indeed a marker that everything is over with. All the nefarious governments are over with. All of the financial systems, you are about to see a complete, total destruction and demolition and collapse of the financial system. You will experience the stock market crashing. You will experience the fiat dollar, the USD, as being the reserve currency being completely demolished. I've been reporting to you that Putin of Russia actually made this announcement in 2018 that he was moving away from the dollar and going to the gold system. I reported it then. I still have the article. I can submit that to you. That same article was circulated in 2019, and then most recently, when people are ready to hear it and reach the critical mass in order to be a part of this great awakening, it became official and widely announced that Russia left the United States dollar. And after that, it led to the BRICS Union or BRICS nations deciding to move away from the dollar, because remember, Russia is a part of the BRICS nations. So just to bring you up to speed, or to help you recall what the BRICS nations are, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It is a union between those nations that have come together and made certain decisions. Once Russia left the USD, that led to the entire BRICS nations using the United States dollar as the reserve currency. Right after that, Saudi Arabia left the United States dollar, and then they said it would be called Sal BRICS, or the Sal BRICS Union. Now, you all know that Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, has brought us up to speed and let us know what actually made the United States dollar the reserve currency, because most of us have just heard, oh, Nixon or different presidents took us off the gold standard for whatever reason, and then they confiscated all the gold and just decided that we need to go off the gold standard. But there's a story behind that. First of all, let me say that Bix Weir from Road to Ruta let us know that there are millions of tons of gold in the Grand Canyon. Millions of tons of gold, and there has not been an inventory done on that gold, because presidents didn't want you to know that there are not only tons, millions and billions of tons of gold in the Grand Canyon there in Phoenix, but they don't want you to know that there are regions of America that's actually Egypt and Israel. But so you not only have tons and tons, millions and billions of tons of gold over there, but you have different artifacts. You have pyramids over there. You have ancient bodies over there, and just all types of things, the treasures over there that will let you know that we are actually living in a biblical Egypt and Israel. Having said that, because all that gold is stored there, governments have put in place and presidents have put in place certain rules that will not allow you to hike there or go in certain areas because you might stumble upon all that gold. Well, the nefarious presidents that were in power decided that they need to create a Federal Reserve System or a system based on fiat dollars, paper dollars that are backed by nothing, because they didn't want or desire for all that gold to be known that it was over there. They didn't want to back the fiat dollars by anything or to create money backed by that gold, and neither did they want to use that gold as money. They desired to keep it for themselves. Well, when President Trump came into office, he demanded that they did inventory of how much gold was over there and that be reported back to him. He's the only president that has ever done that. You can find that information from, I learned that from Bix Weir, and he is the person that, I don't know if he's the CEO of a company, but he is the spokesperson for the roadtoruta.com. And he also talks about how the Federal Reserve System was created. And he will go on, he tells you about how, even though the Federal Reserve was created for nefarious purposes, that there was a good faction of the financial system that decided that they would have to work to crash